Okay, so today we are making a ruffled strap, and I'm going to go through my Pinterest because I have so many ideas saved and I keep saving versions of this strap, so I'm going to go through and decide sort of my way of recreating with my own style. So the first one is this elastic gathered one, and it's with like a sheer fabric, and I really like this play on it. I have an idea for like a sheer one that I might do in the future, but for today I'm going to do one that is in a solid color because I want a black one to go with my black Cornwall crossbody that I wear all the time. I really love this gingham one. It looks more like what I'm imagining in my head for my strap. I think I'm going to have the thick ruched bit in the middle ruched up by the actual strap, and then I'm not entirely sure yet how I'm going to do the ruffles on the edges, but I really like this like neon green, whether that's stitching or binding. It looks really cool. Okay, this bag is so cute, and I feel like using one solid color is going to be more appropriate for what I want it for, because I want it to be like everyday wear. Even though I love colors and contrast, I really do tend to go towards like my more plain colored clothing. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is decide the length of the strap. Now I have a strap that I always wear on this bag, so I'm going to measure that, but I will also show you how you can measure for yourself if you don't already have the bag yet. So I just pulled out the pattern piece, which is for the Cornwall crossbody bag. Take a tape measure, and I'm just going to clip one end of the tape measure to one side of the pattern piece, and then the other side I'm going to just sort of like put my arm through this and clip the other side of the pattern piece, and just play around with it until you find somewhere that you think it's gonna sit comfortably on you, and then take that measurement, and that's gonna be your strap length. So once you've measured your strap, you need to decide if you need to take off any length for any reason. So I am actually going to use these two lobster clasps. So I'm going to take off 2 inches for the length of the hardware on either side, and then I'm going to add back 1 inch, which is going to allow me to fold the fabric over the hardware once I'm sewing it. The total length of my strap, once I've done all the calculations, is going to be 27 inches. And then the width of my hardware is 1.5 inches wide, so I want to times that by 4, so the width of my strap is going to be 6 inches. Now we need to create the ruffle. Start by drawing a guide of the finished strap, and then instead of doing a lot of calculations to create the gathers, we're just going to cut this on the fold, which is going to give us double the fabric and hopefully lots of drama. And then if you want your ruffle to be a uniform width all the way down, you can just draw a rectangle at that width on either side of the strap. So for instance, if you want 2 inches on either side, just extend the width by 4 inches. I want mine to taper, so it's going to be 1.5 inches wide in the middle of the strap and on my shoulder, and then taper down to 0.5 inches on the ends. And then the final strap is to add seam allowance. I'm adding 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter. Okay, I just cut out my pattern pieces, and this is what the ruffle's gonna look like. It's gonna be really big. And I use this like shiny nylon taffeta from Mood Fabrics, and it's so gorgeous. I love using technical fabrics for really girly things. It gives such a contrast, so I think this is gonna sew up really nicely. And it's quite lightweight, so I would recommend using a lighter weight fabric for the ruffle portion. And then for the strap, I've used this canvas, but it's coated on the back with a waterproof layer, so it's really like thick, sturdy fabric, because there's going to be pressure pushing on the ruffle onto the strap part, so you want it to be like a sturdier fabric. Or you could use like one layer of interfacing, just like a woven interfacing, or maybe a fusible fleece or something like that. So the first step is going to be to press the strap ready for sewing, and we're going to have it right side facing down, so the wrong side is facing up, and we're going to fold it wrong sides facing. And then you can open it up, and we're going to fold the raw edges towards the center. And then once you've done that, you can just add some clips down the side. Now, starting with the open side, we're going to sew all the way down as close as we can to the edge, and then sew down the folded side as well, and that's going to make our strap really nice and sturdy. Okay, you can put your strap aside for a second and we're going to work on the ruffles. Take the short end of your ruffle and fold it over 3/8 of an inch towards the wrong side. And we're going to do that on both sides of both ruffles. And then stitch about 1/4 inch or 0.6 centimeters from this folded edge, and that's just going to hold the fabric down and stop it from folding back out again. Okay, so now I've stitched down the seam allowance. So we're ready to attach the two sides of the strap together. Now place them right sides facing, and we're just going to match all the way down the edges and then sew with, I added 3/8 of an inch, but whatever you added, sew with that seam allowance down both sides. And now we're ready to turn the strap the right way out, and I'm just using a safety pin, feeding it through so that I can pull it out of the other side. And then, of course, press your seams out so that it's nice and flat. So now this is all beautifully pressed, I'm going to go and stitch down the edges. You don't have to do this, but I just think it's going to make it lay really nice and flat. And I'm going to try and do that about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, and that's 0.3 centimeters. Now we need to mark out where the strap is going to be going so we can make the channel. I'm going to mark down the middle and then mark out from that on either side half of the width of this strap. And I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch or 0.3 centimeters wider, so just very slightly wider than the strap, so that once it's all bunched up and there's layers of fabric, it's not going to like crush this strap in, and hopefully will stay nice and flat and be comfortable on your shoulder. And then once you have that all marked out, we're going to sew down the outermost lines. Don't sew down the middle line, that was just marking. Okay, so now you can rub away or dissolve your lines. And then we're going to take our strap and thread it through using a safety pin. When you get towards the end, just put a little pin through this or something, just so that you don't pull it all the way off. And then once you get through the other side, put another pin through. And leave yourself a little bit of room so that you can attach the strap to whatever you're attaching it to. So if you're going to put this directly into a bag, then I would recommend go finish the bag and insert this and berth it so that it's finished, and then I'll show you how to finish it once I've added these. And so we added 1 inch for the strap to fold over, so I'm going to measure that and then clip it in place. And do the same on the other side, and then stitch as close as you can to the hardware on your machine. I'm going to switch out to a zipper foot just so that I can get as close as possible, and then I'm going to put another row of stitching further down to stop this flap from folding out once we pull the strap over. And then you can just take the pin out and carefully pull this ruffle layer over the folded bit of the strap and hide it inside. You don't have to do this, but I'm just going to stitch along this previous hemline of stitching to hold this in place and stop it from pulling back. And we are done! Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it and you love your bag strap just as much as I do. I feel like it's adding so much personality to this outfit. I'd love to see if you do make one, so make sure to tag Talia's Threads on Instagram, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.